Welcome to the Songwriters Across Texas podcast. This state has a lot to offer, and music is one of its greatest exports. On this podcast, we get to know songwriters through their stories and hear some of their music. Today, we're at Arlyn Studios, and my guest is Eric Hisaw. I'm Karl Anderson, and this is the Songwriters Across Texas podcast. Eric Hisaw grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico, just north of the El Paso border. His father turned him on to the True Believers and the Leroy Brothers and Joe Ely. So naturally, when he turned 17, he made his way to Austin, where all of those players resided. But feeling shy and a bit out of his league, it took him 10 years to get it to where he could release something that would sit well on the record shelf next to his mentors. From 2000 to 2012, he made 5 records, including 2 for San Antonio label Saustex Records, and started charting on Americana radio. With just a hint of punk and an occasional accordion, his compositional skill set has been compared with Elvis Costello. He's got a new record coming out to be released on Flak Records, and it's my great pleasure to welcome to the show Eric Hisaw. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Karl. Great to be here.
Thanks for being here, man. What are you going to kick us off with?
All right, I'm going to start with the song that's going to be the title of this new record that we have. This is one called Can't Stop Time. Every day the news come down. Someone we ran with's no longer around. Page of my phone book, a circling pin, full of numbers I never called again. And it seems like something could be done, but there ain't no breaks as we circle round the sun. And you can't stop time. You can't stop time. Can't stop time. We're just pushing for a finish line. Every day I wake up to some new pain, some new thought that won't leave my brain. Walk on the streets and nothing looked the same. I can't believe how fast it all changed. Seems like something could be done, but there ain't no brakes on this trip that we're on. And you can't stop time. You can't stop time. Can't stop time. We're just pushing for a finish line. Every day the news come down. Someone we ran with's no longer around. Page of my phone book, a circling pin, full of numbers I never call again. And it seems like something could be done, but there ain't no brakes on this trip that we're on. Can't stop time. You can't stop time. You can't stop time. We're just pushing. Oh yeah, I said you can't stop time. You can't stop time. You can't stop time. We're just pushing for a finish line. Woo!
I started doing that when we started doing these, and now I can't stop. Eric, thanks for being here, man. That song's great.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thought I'd just maybe ask you right away. Like, I mean, you focused a lot. Your lyrics are pretty incredible. Do you focus on them first, or how does that work for you?
It all comes differently. A lot of times I'll get an idea, more like a theme or a line or just some combination of words, and I'll just start working on it, maybe just patting my leg, just finding a rhythm for that stuff to go to.
Patting my leg.
And then later I'll pick up a guitar and kind of try to find a harmonic thing to go, the chord sequence to go with it. But it all starts with like an idea and a rhythm, and then just squeezing those two things, just
I love that
sculpting, Yeah, that's usually where it all comes from.
And that song is called "You Can't Stop Time." Is that what you said?
Yeah, Can't Stop Time. That's going to be the title of the new record.
Oh, great. That's a good one. And you can't stop time, it turns out. You're not even lying.
No, you can't, it's just for all of us that are in our age group, I just turned 50, and, we've lost so many friends over the years, and in some ways, just the way that generations are, our generation, we still feel like kids,
Yeah.
We still feel young. We still feel, we grew up through the punk rock thing, and we don't feel like we're at that point where we're going to start, seeing it's like we skipped adulthood.
Right. I agree.
From adolescence to geriatrics.
I'm not sure. Yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing, actually, because I am totally in agreement with that, is that our generation, I think it was between rock, classic rock and punk that we grabbed. We were born the Vietnam War was wrapping up, and that's what we got born into. And all that music was like, F that, and when I hit a certain age, I was like, yeah, that's my fuel.
Yeah, and it's still very important to older people. I played a gig. I was as a guitar player, as a sideman. I was in England one time, and the audience they were elderly. They were old.
Wow.
They looked really old. And and on stage we're worried about being too loud, oh no, we gotta be quieter. These people are aged. They're coming in with canes and stuff. And on the break, there's like a little intermission. I go out and I'm talking to these guys, and they want to talk about, Steve Marriott and Mick Taylor and Keith Richards. And I'm realizing, these guys are actually the age of
right. They were there when it was all born.
Yeah, these are rock and rollers. They're not. We need to turn up, if anything.
Right, exactly. So that's cool. Let's talk about where you come from in Las Cruces. Cruces.
Yeah, right there on the border. Las Cruces is kind of in this little bit of a no man's land. There's Las Cruces, there's El Paso, and there's Juarez, Mexico, which are all very close together, 30 miles apart at the furthest, and it's almost like no state claims any of it. You tell people you're from New Mexico, and the first thing they're like, "Oh, do you go skiing? Do you wear crystals and go skiing?" It's like, "No, I'm from the desert. I'm from the
Right.
And then Texas doesn't really claim El Paso,
Right.
And and Juarez has a lot of things that are very different about it than the rest of Mexico too.
Yeah.
So it's this little area that's got all these borders and all these lines, and
it's a triangle. Though.
Yeah, and it's very similar.
Did you spend time in all the places?
Oh yeah, a lot, yeah. Yeah, Las Cruces, we didn't. There was a great record store there that's a huge part of my upbringing. But as far as new releases went, we didn't always get them, or we'd only get one copy. We'd only get one copy of a Replacements album at the Record Bar or Hastings or whatever. So we'd have to go to El Paso to get stuff like that. So I spent a lot of time going down there on Tuesdays.
How did you get there? Did you have a car already?
Yeah, you have to drive. I learned to drive really young. As I learned to drive when I was 14 and got my license really early, like maybe around my 15th birthday, because you could do that in
area.
1986, New
Right,
Mexico.
and also, right, because people were not necessarily expected to finish school, and some people just had to go to work when they turned 16.
Working and agriculture stuff. So
What was that like?
It was great. I loved it. I love so much about New Mexico, but I couldn't do what I wanted to do there. So I had to go, and I got romanced really early by Jack Kerouac stuff. And,
that's cool.
That stuff came together. I found a book randomly. I was a fan of Janis Joplin's music, but I just found a book about Janis Joplin written by a guy named Dave Dalton. And in that book, Janis, she talks about these different things she was into, literary and music-wise, and it just pulled all this stuff together for me: country, western music, blues, literature, the Kerouac stuff. And, and when I read that book, I just started reading everything I could get my hands on.
Awesome. That happened to me with reading. and it all came out of music, but it was Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, yeah.
The Kesey book, and that's what made me go, wait a minute. It might be cooler to be a writer than it is to be a rock star. I don't know. These guys are pretty wild.
Yeah, you could say something like that. You could take it in all these different directions,
Right, but certainly the literature inspired me. But I love it when I meet a songwriter because not every songwriter says that to me at all.
Yeah.
So you picked up guitar. You had a teacher teach you guitar at like 16. Is that what you said?
No, it was crazy. And there was 2 years in the grade school system, the elementary school system in Las Cruces. There was a guy, and he was, he's kind of a hustler. I think he came in and he taught guitar. He managed to sell a guitar program to the school, and he ended up quitting like halfway through my year. But the year before me in my year, he taught guitar, and I was really intimidated by the whole thing. I didn't know if I was musical or not. But I had seen the Buddy Holly story, and that made me really interested. And then I had seen Joe Ely open up for Linda Ronstadt, and that made me really interested. And as soon as I got, my first guitar was a classical guitar. And he's showing us how to play. Mary Had a Little Lamb with our thumb on one string. But as soon as I got it in my hands, like I immediately knew more than what the other kids, just immediately just felt I was interested, and other people weren't, so.
Then that's, that's either inherited, genetics or whatever,
Yeah, I don't even know where it comes from, just like,
but
I just got into it, just loved it.
Right. I mean, I think that most people, there was a moment where they just go, I knew I had to, I had a moment where I was watching, as a teenager, I was watching Escape from New York, and I was like, oh, I gotta, I should be doing that. I mean, that looks like a great thing to do.
Yeah.
Being Snake Plissken.
Yeah, well, definitely when I saw the Buddy Holly story, that was one that I...
Was that Kurt Russell as well?
No, that was Gary Busey, actually.
Busey, that's right.
And the movie's got a whole lot of factual errors. I mean, the movie's kind of an enemy of rock history, but the spirit of it was so, I don't know, it was so alive. And I saw that and I thought, man, this is cool, because growing up in the desert, and being a husky dude and growing up doing farm work and stuff,
right.
the people you saw on TV, hell, for me, that would be like Duran Duran or Howard Jones or somebody. They didn't do any of this stuff. Their life was nothing like mine,
right.
And then I see Gary Busey portraying Buddy Holly, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is kind of similar to, this represents where I come from,
right.
With guitars,
and attitudes.
And then when I saw Joe Ely and Jesse Taylor, it was like, man, these dudes are so, there's something in what they're doing that's in me, and I could do that, I could wear blue jeans and cowboy boots and play.
Totally. But then
you guitar made out of wood.
But then you got to do it, and and it takes you a little. Like for me, I understand when you told me that. It took me a little while to feel comfortable, like to actually that I get to be good enough.
Yeah,
is the way I took that.
Oh yeah. Once I came to Austin, I did a whole lot. I traveled around the country. I lived in Louisiana and in Memphis for a little bit before I came here, and just briefly. Doing my, Jack Kerouac thing, basically,
sure.
And I got here, and I had so much, just, the cart before the horse thing. I had so much attitude and ego, and my skills weren't there yet. And I just kept tripping over, the cart, and I saw these people play. When I got close to seeing the Leroy Brothers or Alejandro play and what they were doing, or seeing Will Sexton play, or Two Hoots and a Holler, I didn't even want to tell people I played. It was like back to the shack for me. I needed to go back to the shack and learn, and figure out how to do this, because they were so impressive, and they were doing it on a world-class level in tiny clubs.
Yes.
Yes. And it was just amazing to see that. And so it intimidated me, and it took me a long time to get my thing together.
I got you.
And I'm still getting my thing together.
I was going to say, me too, man. I hope we're still getting our thing together. But you definitely got your thing together enough to get the releases and all that. And
yeah.
I think that's, again, hard work. Just, going out and figuring out how to push yourself in the reps. Was just playing. What got you to the next level?
Playing all the time.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. And playing with other people. Like, I had to humble myself, because I saw myself as, in some way when I left Las Cruces, I saw myself as the front man. I saw myself as the leader, as the writer, as the lead guitar player and the writer. And when I backed off, humbled myself, and started actually working for other people, then you start to learn how things actually work. Because, with no help, no sponsorship, coming at it thinking that you're going to dominate, that you're going to control a situation, you have to really have it together to do that.
So you had an ego check thing, and that. Did you work like in a record store or something?
No, I never did. I kind of always gravitated towards not using my creative side to make my additional money.
Got you.
And maybe that's from, I grew up around farmers and manual laborers, and so that I'd fell into that for my system of making money outside of music has always been to work with my hands.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. So you were doing stuff here and there, but you didn't need that much money back then to live.
No, back then you didn't hardly need money at all. I used to work at a plant nursery 4 days a week and make 10 times my rent.
That's awesome. And it was probably fun too.
It was fun. All of it was fun.
Yeah, Austin's a great place for that kind of thing because there are so many musicians and artists that just they're young and they need something to do, and so you can have some nice groups to work with that aren't necessarily doing your thing.
Yeah.
When did it get to I have some songs that now I can feel like good about going out and playing?
Well, in the late 1990s, I moved away for about a year. I went back to Las Cruces, and I started a band with some friends of mine who had all been in almost were successful projects. Like they'd all done things that had gotten on songs that they were a part of had been on MTV's Road Rules show or one of those. So they'd all done work, and we all found ourselves back kind of crashing and burning. I was about 24, 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And we put a band together and we played really hard. And when that ended and I came back, I started playing anywhere and everywhere that would let me.
Gotcha.
Like I used to play at Pokey Joe's Barbecue all the time.
Nice.
Like maybe twice a week, and I would just sit there and strum and play my guitar.
Did you get paid?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was nice. And I started, it's important to get paid. I'm not even really a capitalist, but if you're not trying to make it your living, you can't really get any better. You can't.
I agree.
You can't justify it because we live in America and you have to stay alive. So you have to get paid. So getting paid probably made a big difference for me, actually.
That's excellent, and I like that you put it that way because I know, you ask to do a lot of stuff for free as an artist, and especially when you're young, it's like, yeah, sure, I'd do that anyway. I'd do that anyway. But after a while, you're like, but wait a minute, somebody's getting something out of this.
Yeah, it's important to get. It's there's a conflict because, like I say, I don't really. When I was young, I had a lot of that. I'm not gonna be a sellout. I'm not doing it for that. That's not the reason I do this or whatever. But,
of course,
but you have to get paid. You learn a lot.
It isn't you can't do it for the money, but you have to get money.
Yeah. Very, very confusing.
It is.
Very nuanced, fine line there.
Art and commerce have not met well historically. I mean, it's a weird conversation, And I've been in the middle of some conversations between art and commerce that were frustrating, but but there is one that works because art keeps getting made and funded.
Yeah, it has to.
Let's actually go into a second song, and then I want to talk about your records.
Let's do. I'm gonna do one now called "You're Not Alone." We're coming off a hard time, feeling like there's no place to go, looking for your real life and the love you've been waiting for. What I see when I look in your eyes, something I never known. So baby, gotta trust when I say you're not alone. It's been such a long road, and we find ourselves right here, haunted by these ghosts. Should be so far in the rearview mirror. When I reach for your hand, I feel a spark deep down in my bones. So baby, gotta trust when I say you're not alone. You're not alone. when I reach for your hand, I feel a spark deep down in my bones. So baby, gotta trust when I say you're not alone. You're not alone. Coming off a hard time, feeling like there's no place to go, looking for your real life and the love you've been waiting for. What I see when I look in your eyes, something I never known. So baby, gotta trust when I say you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Again, those lyrics are crazy good. I see what the his compositional skill has been compared with Elvis Costello. I think that's true. I think that's a great compliment. But
I love that. I love that comparison because I feel like people are paying attention. If people tell me that I sound like some other, big burly redneck, then I
right, yeah,
I think, they're only watching, they're not listening.
Right.
But when you take somebody that's so physically and growing up so dissimilar than me as Elvis Costello, I love that comparison.
Yeah, I do too. I like it. It looks good on you. You started making records in 2000.
Yeah, I got it together through some help of some friends. I recorded a record with a guy named Don McAllister, who passed away not too long ago. Don was he was kind of into the Western swing / Lyle Lovett sort of side of music.
Nice.
And he had a recording studio and out up in the hills of Westlake, and I went out there a bunch of times and we made a record and didn't have any idea what I was doing, and it came out all right. It came out with some charm to it, and there's still people who like it, and when I run across them, if I put them on the merch table, I demand that they buy the new one. If they can't have it unless they also buy the new one. It's very raw, very amateurish, but it got my foot in the door in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it's all. I bet that your fans love it because I know I like Neil Young's "Tonight's the Night" is a great example of a very raw record that I don't think it needs to be anything other than what it is.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so you made the one, and that's not with Saustex yet, though. That was just independent.
Yeah,
right?
I just did that one on my own, and it's funny. Is like back then people were so much more eager to buy stuff. I think I probably sold more of those than right off the stage than any other record that I made.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I did that one, and then I made another one called "Never Could Walk the Line," which was the first one where I worked with my friend Ron Flint, and Ron has a recording studio up in North Austin and has done a whole lot for the Austin music community. But prior to that, he was in a Los Angeles band called 2020 that had a lot of success in the early 80s. And so I started making records with Ron on my second one, and we've made a whole bunch of records together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So a seasoned vet.
A seasoned vet who taught me so much.
He was on a major label back in the day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Worked with a lot of the heavyweights and stuff. So.
Right. How did Saustex happen, and tell us about Saustex and all that?
Well, I'd been friends with Jeff Smith, who was a singer of a band called the Hickoids, of course, well-known institution.
Hickoids, yeah.
Everyone should know about the Hickoids. I'd been friends with Jeff through, I always kind of had a little bit of dual citizenship in San Antonio and Austin both. So I met Jeff maybe at Taco Land down there in San Antonio, and we were friends. And then, we saw one another through, some getting sober, essentially. And I quit drinking in 2000. Jeff quit drinking a couple years after that, quit drinking and, abusing other substances.
Right.
And so he was coming out of that, getting clean and trying to give back to the community. And he knew that I was just working all the time, working really hard. And he wanted to, throw some help towards someone that was doing something. So we'd been friends for a long time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is Saustex still around?
Yeah, he's always still doing all kinds of stuff. I think we sort of decided to go in different directions because a lot of what was working for him was the more ironic stuff, irony-based kind of, and punk stuff and real over-the-top things. And he was doing great with that. He did great with a Blowfly album and some other stuff like that. And what was working for him wasn't working for me. It wasn't helping me. And what I was doing wasn't helping him. So
I got you. So it just sort of naturally fell
yeah.
off.
But I mean, we still do stuff all the time. We still like
Right. I think people like to define things sometimes, and they'll stop playing and they'll be like, "Well, I'm done playing, and I'm not doing it anymore." And you're like, "You're 32, and you're probably gonna do it in 3 months."
Yeah.
What was I gonna ask you next? Was the difference between like being in a studio and playing live? Like, I'm sure I know what the differences are, but like for you, what's the most satisfying aspect?
Well, I like recording. Recording is very, very satisfying.
Nice.
I really enjoy recording. I enjoy playing guitar parts off of my own guitar parts. I enjoy playing with other people too, but I think that there's times that I can really put a record together quickly and efficiently because I can hear two or three characters, and I have them in my head before, I'll have the thing that I would normally play first.
What do you mean by the 2 or 3 characters?
Well, like on the latest record that we did, we recorded the whole thing live like we were playing a show with my Telecaster, which has a bit of a story to it. I've owned it. I've been playing the same guitar since I was a teenager. I have one of those irrational attachments to.
Do you only have one guitar?
I have other guitars, but I don't ever play them out.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so I would hear like what I would do with my guitar, and then I could hear another part, and figure out kind of what instrument that would be. Like if I play a Fender Telecaster live, I'll always play a Fender Telecaster. That's the only thing that I really know how to do live. But like I'd find a hollow body guitar and say, oh, this complements, and I'm going to play this in this way.
Got you.
And it's going to be this other character, Or an acoustic guitar will be another character, another voice, another character.
Yeah, no, obviously we're in the film world, and so it's like it's character. But I like that word uses the characters, the instruments.
Yeah,
are characters too. Of course they are.
Yeah, and I like using them throughout multiple songs. Like using the same setup for a couple different songs, and then adding an organ or piano or whatever, and I don't play those, but adding like my friend Ron Flint to do that, and that's an additional.
I was going to say you must have a handful of players that you reach to when you need them.
Oh yeah, so many great players in this town. It's easy to.
Yeah, no kidding. So you got another record coming out.
I do
on Flak Records. Is that right?
Yeah, Flak Record, FLK, and Flak works a lot with. They've done some records with Larry Seaman, who's been in long time Austin, going back to the Raoul's days. Some records with a bunch of different people. A band called the Right Flyers, which is made up of some of the guys from Doctor's Mob and stuff. So they're kind of, I'm probably the rootsiest, most, country and blues influenced artist on the label.
Right. They're more punky.
Yeah, more that sort of pop, punk kind of, I was laughing one time. I was saying, well, these guys like Matthew Sweet and Alex Chilton is their Chuck Berry,
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay.
What I'm saying? Like these dudes, they look up to those kind of guys like we do to Chuck Berry and Keith Richards.
Right.
But I feel like it's a really good fit. The guy that owns the label, Shannon, he's really trying to do a bunch of stuff and branch out and work. He wants to work. So
Flak, FLAK Records.
Yeah.
Where's that at? Is it in Austin?
Here in Austin. Yeah.
Good.
And he wants to do vinyl, which is important to me. I haven't had a chance to do that for one of my own records yet.
I know a lot of musicians that are, older than you even, and they're like, yeah, I finally got to put one on vinyl, like that's pretty wild. I mean, we grew up with vinyl, and that I end up telling people, I'm like, it's so important, that vinyl experience, taking the cellophane off, pulling the thing out. Sometimes there's lyrics already on the thing, just like soaking up put it on, put the needle on. Oh my God. I remember I got Axis Bold as Love, like one of the first records I bought when I was like 12 or 13. Yeah. And because it was cheap. there was a department store and they had like letters on them and it was an E instead of a G. And I was like, I'm going to get this Hendrix record. You know, EXP is this first song. And there's a spaceship landing in my room.
Yeah, that stuff was important, and I think that 12-inch, vinyl, it made it more important, and it was collectible and keepable, and then the cover art, it's like I heard somebody saying the other day that like, if you bought the Velvet Underground, then you had a Warhol. You didn't just didn't own only the album, you also owned a Warhol.
That's right.
And the artwork was so important.
So what are your goals now? You got a record coming out soon. It's your 5th or 6th? It's your 6th, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so how are you thinking about these, what's coming up for you?
It's a little bit hard to be specific on that in some ways. Everything's changing so much, changing so fast. And, I want people to hear it. That's my main goal. My main goal is that people hear it. And that's not always easy. And putting stuff out digitally, I was kind of laughing, saying, God, I've worked so hard to give this away,
Right. Yeah, no kidding.
But it's hard to, my goal is to cross over into getting where more people are hearing it, and I want to go out and play good gigs, better, like, I don't know that I want to do the working 3-hour bar gigs, 3-hour gigs that much anymore. We'll do them sometimes because it's good for your skills and good for rehearsal, but
working out songs.
Well, I'd like to get some good gigs playing with other similar like-minded artists and have this record just reach people that haven't heard what I'm doing yet, and I feel like it's kind of a perfect record to do that because it I don't know, it's very I decided to go a little easier on the listener. Maybe that's what I like. I have these songs. I have this catalog of music that's written about a lot of characters, and a lot of these characters living in very difficult circumstances. And some of my earlier albums, I was continually trying to give voice to people that maybe that had been ignored, and it's not always that easy on the listener, So I kind of took a step back and I said, well, I want to do something that's a little bit more fun. Mm-hmm. It's still, there's still a point lyrically to it, but musically I wanted it to be a whole lot more fun, a lot more rhythmic, a lot more.
Nice.
And the songs are all pretty short, pretty brief.
Radio friendly, as it
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's good news. I like to hear that. And I like wish you all the best. I can see that happening. We're going to close you out. Do you have anything else you'd like to say, or do you have any gigs coming up?
Well, yeah. One thing that we've been doing that's been so much fun is since the pandemic, I'd been playing a whole lot of gigs. I've been playing, 4 or 5 gigs, sometimes 4 or 5 gigs a week. Mm-hmm. And when we lost that, obviously, we lost a big chunk of our income. And, we got all the free stuff and got did well with that. And then when that sort of started to slow down, we realized we had to do something to stay alive, Mm-hmm. So my wife, Angie, talked me into doing a live stream. Okay. And at first, to me, pointing a cell phone at myself and playing a song was like, and broadcasting it on Facebook is so foreign. I was like, I don't want any part of that. I don't, Facebook Live, no, that's not who I am. I don't do that. But started doing it and got a great response to it. And got to play to people all over the world. And then we realized quickly, well, we can't just make this a show. I can't sit there and play my 12 songs and then do it 2 weeks later, play my 12 songs,
Right.
So I started playing electric guitar on the show. And I knew it wasn't going to sound terrific, because we're doing it in my attic. We're not doing it at Arlyn Studios.
Right,
so
right,
it's
exactly.
a different thing. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna play guitar a little bit different than if I were presenting an acoustic show, So I play electric guitar. I play the solos just right there, just by myself, And we make them into theme shows where we talk about a different theme every week.
Gotcha.
A recent theme was I called it The Town I Moved To, and I did songs by the Leroys and the Tailgaters and the True Believers and stuff. Then we did shows that we covered the whole United States, and I played songs from people in California one show, people from Iowa, So I do these themes, and I talk about the history. Nice. And we've built a small but dedicated audience to it. And and we need more people to watch it.
I need to watch that.
Watch it.
Where do we watch it?
Sunday nights, every other Sunday, we do it at 7 p.m.
On Facebook?
Central Time on Facebook, and then it stays there forever. So you can
you can go back and watch.
Go back and watch any one of them.
How many are there?
There's 2.5 years of them.
I was going to say, man, because you started kind of in the beginning, and you just got. It's fun to watch that body of work.
Oh, it's a blast. It's so much fun. And I always draw a poster for it. The posters are of varying quality because I got to do them quick.
Yeah.
But that's my ritual. I draw a poster. I come up with the set list. I learn the songs. And
I like it.
And do the research and talk about these different things.
That part's really. I mean, obviously, we're doing a version of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite part about it is that research you end up doing. And you could be lazy and not do it, or and then you don't. But then you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's been funny. Sometimes I've done a show and I've been like, oh, I'm so glad that I can stop working on this. And other times I'll do a show like I did the one on Lou Reed. And I just couldn't stop listening to Lou Reed. I was like, I'm sad the show's over. I just want to keep doing this over and over again.
Right.
So it's really a lot of fun. And I feel like we're doing something that nobody else is doing. So it's worth watching. It's worth checking out.
That's awesome. What do we got for song 3?
This is a song called What They Got. And that's a song that I came up with from driving around East Austin and looking at the changes and all of the, the various changes we've gone through, and it concerns me not just for people like us. I mean, we signed up for a hard life.
Yeah.
It concerns me for the people with kids.
Yeah.
The people who've lived in these neighborhoods, and that's the song just about that. They say a fool and his money soon be parted. I've been separated from my share, but it's not foolishness that I blame. I just never wanted to be a millionaire, and I've worked every day I've been able, giving tears, sweat, and blood. I've seen the value of my trade slowly crumble, and our well life washed out like a flood. And it's not that we want what they got. No, we're just trying to keep what we have. No, it's not that we want what they got. No, we're just trying to keep what we have. Well, the skyline, it's cluttered with condos. Neighborhoods are full of Airbnbs. They're closing schools for lack of children. And they knocked down every place we used to drink and eat. And there's people sleeping under bridges, homeless camps along the side of the road. The city's run by real estate barons who are making the deals behind gold-plated doors. And it's not that we want what they got. No, we're just trying to keep what we have. I say it's not that we want what they've got. No, we're just trying to keep what we have. Yeah, we're just trying to keep what we have.
Bravo. Seriously, bravo, baby.
Thank you.
That's
thank you.
killer, Eric. Thank you so much for being here. What's your website?
Website, erichissaw.com.
Eric is ERICHISAW. If you're watching this, I'm sure you'll see the name. But if you're listening, it's ERICHISAW.com.
Yeah, .com. Yeah.
That's where you can go get all these goodies.
Yeah.
Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. And if you've been listening to this podcast and would like to watch it, go to our YouTube channel, Songwriters Across Texas. Check this out. And there's some others there as well. Thanks again, Eric.
Hey, thanks for having me. What a pleasure.